Hello everyone. In this video, I am going to be talking about some more evidence for the existence of Planet 9, or what I like to call Planet 10. So let's get into this article. New found world. The goblin may lead to mysterious Planet 9. There is another planet out in the Kuiper Belt called the Goblin Planet. And it's a dwarf planet out there. And its orbit seems like it's synchronizing with something, a much larger object out in the abyss somewhere. So now I will give additional information. Drifting past Pluto, the orbit of the dwarf planet, 2015 TG387 appears to have been sculpted by the gravity of something far larger lurking in the solar system's outer limits. Scientists have discovered yet another marker on the trail toward the putative Planet 9. That clue is 2015 TJ387, a newfound object in the far outer solar system, way beyond Pluto. The orbit of 2015 TG387 shares particularities with those of other extremely far-flung bodies, which appear to have been shaped by the gravity of a very large object in the distant fringed realm, the hypothesized Planet 9, also known as Planet X. These distant objects are like breadcrumbs leading us to Planet X. Study leader Scott Shepard of the Carnegie Institution for Science in Washington, D.C. said in a statement, "The evidence of Planet 9 in our solar system," which is another article. "The more of them we can find, the better we can understand the outer solar system and possible planet that we think is shaping their orbits, a discovery that would redefine our knowledge of the solar system's evolution," he added. In 2015, TJ387 is special, which is the Goblin Planet, among these breadcrumbs because it was found during a relatively uniform survey of the northern and southern skies, rather than a targeted hunt for clustered objects in certain parts of the sky, Shepard said. Targeted hunts can produce biased results, for example, the appearance of clustering where none may actually exist, he explained. The Goblin Planet, or 2015 TG387, has two dwarf planet companions in the low bias class, Shepard said. 2012 VP113, which he and his colleague, Chadwick Trujillo, who's a co-author of the new paper as well, spotted in 2014 as part of the same ongoing long-term survey in the relatively bright Sedina, because the whole sky has been searched to its level of brightness. And then, if you bring in some of the other extreme objects, several of them were found in our survey as well. Shepard told Space.com, "The statistics get better and better that this planet is likely out there." Shepard and his colleagues first spotted the Goblin Planet, or 2015 TG387, in October 2015 using Japan's 26-foot 8 meters Subaru telescope atop the volcanic peak of Mauna Kea in Hawaii. The researchers nicknamed the object the Goblin because of the discovery date and the TG in the provisional designation. It took the team 3 additional years to nail down the Goblin's orbit, which they did with the aid of observations by the Las Campanas Observatory in Chile and the Discovery Channel telescope in Arizona. 2015 TG387, the Goblin, loops around the Sun on an extremely elliptical path, coming within about 65 astronomical units (AU) of the Sun at its closest point, known as the perihelion, and getting about 2,300 AU away at its most distant aphelion. 1 AU is the average Earth-Sun distance, about 93 million miles, 150 million kilometers. So the Goblin is way, way out there, indeed. It takes about 40,000 Earth years for the newfound object to complete one lap around the Sun. And also something that I would add is Nibiru is also very long, longer than that, I've read. Allegedly, which I believe it's there. Only 2 known solar system bodies have more distant perihelia than the Goblin does: 2012 VP 113 in Sedina, and only one 2014 FE 72 has a greater aphelion distance. For perspective, Pluto never gets closer to the Sun than 29.7 AU, or farther away than 49.3 AU. Shepard and his colleagues think that the Goblin is about 186 miles, 300 kilometers wide, and probably spherical, in which case it would qualify as a dwarf planet. But that's all they can really say about the Goblin's physical characteristics. It's pretty faint, so we can really just see that it's there, Shepard told Space.com. We don't even know the color of the object. We haven't gotten any spectroscopy on the object yet, or anything like that. The 186-mile diameter is not a measurement, but rather an estimate, assuming a moderate reflectiveness for the Goblin. But going back to the orbit, the Goblin's similar in key ways to those of some other extremely distant bodies, particularly an element called longitude of perihelion. Basically, the elongated parts of their elliptical orbits are clustered in the same part of the sky, which is consistent with gravitational shepherding by Planet X. The existence of Planet X was first seriously proposed in 2014 by Shepard and Trujillo to potentially explain oddities in the orbits of 2012 VP 113, Sedina, and a few other trans-Neptunian objects. In 2016, astronomers Konstantin Batygin and Mike Brown presented more evidence for such an unseen perturber, which they called Planet 9. Batygin and Brown have suggested that this world may be about 10 times more massive than Earth, in an orbit about 600 AU from the Sun on average. In the new study, the researchers also performed computer simulations to test how Planet X's gravitational tug might influence the orbit of the Goblin. They found significant shepherding akin to that inferred for other distant objects, and determined that 2015 TG387's orbit remains stable for the age of the solar system nonetheless. What makes this result really interesting is that Planet X seems to affect the Goblin the same way as all the other extremely distant solar objects. Trujillo, who's based at Northern Arizona University, said in the same statement, "These simulations do not prove that there's another massive planet in our solar system, but they are further evidence that something big could be out there." Shepard puts the odds of Planet X's existence at around 85%, and he says it's not at all surprising that astronomers haven't spotted it yet. Where we think the planet is hundreds of AU away is not 1,000 AU. Something can even as big as Neptune would be fainter than the most telescopes could see. So what they're saying is it's so far away that even something as the size of Neptune couldn't be seen. And that's why they haven't found it yet in this giant, vast, abyssal area of space. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, or something even worse than that. Something even more sequestered than you would possibly imagine. In case this sounds odd or incongruous, the goblin was discovered near a perihelion about 80 AU from the Sun. And most of our surveys to date do not go that faint, do not go that deep. We've covered very little of the sky to the depth that's needed to be covered to find something this faint. He added, you can hide a very big thing in the outer solar system very easily. And that is all for this article. And so, to sum it up, these objects beyond Neptune, some of them are very, very difficult to find, and the Kuiper Belt was always there since the beginning. And then there's these other objects that were out, sort of in the outskirts of our solar system, that were pushed away, or some various things could have happened that caused them to be out there. And Planet 10, Planet 9, Nibiru, is very far out there, and the evidence and proof, perhaps, of its existence is all these smaller objects that have been detected, which took decades and decades and decades to discover. I'm sure there's other objects we don't even know that are there, are orbiting and following the orbit of something else. They're being herded around by something else back there. So there's seems like there's evidence scientifically for the planet being there. So I think this is a very interesting thing to discuss. I discussed this during one of the lives, and so this gives some more credibility to the possibility of Planet 9, Planet 10 being there. But just like with a menu at a restaurant, everybody likes their own food to eat, and everybody may have their own theories and opinions about this, and that's fine. And this is all speculation. So I would be interested to know y'all's thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching.